Good morning, students. Welcome back to the session. I hope I'm audible. Okay. So, in the last session, we actually discussed about the concept of addressing modes and how these addressing modes are used in SIC bar HC. So, just a second. Okay, so we were discussing about the addressing modes that is used in SIC bar XC. So as we have seen, we have got different types of addressing mode. We have got direct, indexed, base relative, PC relative, immediate addressing mode, right? And indirect addressing mode, so on and so forth. And we also had seen an exercise where we tried to understand how the binary code or the instruction is going to be executed or it has to be interpreted. Like for example, in the last session we had seen how to interpret this instruction. So this instruction, which is 032600, it's an instruction in binary. Of course, it is represented in hexadecimal for our convenience because I simply can't write all zeros and ones and try to understand it. So this instruction in hexadecimal is a 3-byte instruction format. So obviously, if it's a 3-byte instruction format, then possibilities are that it can be an SIC instruction or an SIC bar XC instruction. So in order to check which instruction it is, we have to expand this instruction and look into the corresponding bits. Okay, so how did we do that? So we expanded 0 because it's an hexadecimal number, so it will occupy 4 bits. So it is 0 0 0 0. Next is 3. So 3 is 0 0 1 1, and next is 2, which is 0 0 1 0, and next one is 6, which is 0 1 1 0, and the last two digits are zeros. So write them as it is. So this is 24 bits or 3 bytes. Okay, so we know that in case of SIC or SIC bar XE, we have got the following instruction format. So if it is an SIC bar XE, then the opcode part will be around 6 bits. So 4 plus 2, so 6 bits. Then the remaining 6 bits are going to be the flag fields. So which are those flags? So N, I, X, B, P, and E. And the remaining 12 bits are going to be the displacement. Okay, so they're going to be displacement. So these are the 12 bits. So how do we know whether it's an instruction for SIC or SIC bar XE? We just have to check for N and I bits. So if the values of N and I are 0 and 0, then it is an instruction for SIC standard model. So in that case, we have to interpret this as follows. We are supposed to consider 8-bit opcode, 1-bit flag field, which is the X value, and the remaining 15-bit are for the address. Okay, therefore the address, right? So because there is a 1 and 1 here for both N and I, so it means that it is an instruction for SIC bar XE, and this is how we are going to interpret it. So it will be 6-bit opcode, and of course 6 flag fields, and whatever is remaining, which is the 12-bit, so that will be considered as the displacement. Okay, so in this case, both N and I have been set to 1 and 1, which means that we are neither using indirect nor immediate addressing mode. X is set to 0, so no index addressing mode. B is set to 0, so no base relative addressing mode, and P is set to 1. So obviously it means that we are using the PC relative addressing mode in this case, and E is set to 0. So when you use PC relative addressing mode, how do you calculate the target address? So you calculate the target address as whatever the displacement is in the displacement field plus the content of the PC, right? So what is the content of PC here? It is 3000 plus what is the displacement? So displacement was 600, right? So that gives us a target address of 3600, right? That gives us a target of 3600. So at 3600, what do we have? This is the value that we have. So this is the value that will be loaded into the accumulator, considering that this instruction is a load instruction, to be precise, right? So like this, the other instructions were also interpreted. So important thing is that you should know what type of an instruction it is and what addressing mode is being used. Okay, so this is one of the important aspect. So as of now, we know that there are 4 types of instructions in SIC bar XE, which are 4 formats. There are format 1, format 2, format 3, and format 4, and there are around 5 to 6 addressing mode that is supported on SIC bar XE. When it comes to SIC standard model, we have got only one format, and we have got around 2 addressing modes, which are the indexed and the direct addressing mode. So here it is indirect, immediate, simple, and base relative, PC relative, and extended format. So these things you should be familiar with. So as I mentioned in the last session, our aim is not to worry about how this instruction is getting executed. See, what we saw in this exercise is how this instruction that is in binary is going to be executed. Okay, so if we are to write a system software for this, So obviously the system software's job is, am I audible? All right. So if we are to write a system software, then we are supposed to generate this program or this code in binary. So because after this, what has to be done will be taken care of by the machine itself. Okay, so I told you that this is what we are supposed to do. We should already be familiar with writing an assembly level language program, and we know that this assembly level language program will be converted to a binary language or machine language. Okay, so we are supposed to focus on a program here or a software here that will do this translation for us. Okay, so from assembly level language to binary language. So we need to be familiar with both the languages. Okay, so that's why this exercise actually interpreted how a binary language would actually look like and how it will be executed by the machine. Okay, but we also need to get familiar with how we are supposed to write the assembly level language program, and with few exercises we shall discuss about how we can write assembly level language program for SIC as well as SIC bar XC. Okay, so using the features that we have already discussed. All right, so let us look into a simple examples for SIC as well as SIC bar XC, starting with loading data in and out of memory. Okay, so for this program, let us consider this is the memory, right? And there is some value that is being stored. Let me assume that this is 5. Okay, so this is 5. So it is present in memory. Value 5 is present in memory. So I will give this location some name. Okay, I'll call it as 5. And then I will have one more character. Let me assume that this is character Z, and here character Z is stored. Okay, so my aim is to move this character and this number into another location in memory. For example, let me call this as alpha, and let me call this as C1. Okay, so two memory locations are reserved. You can call them as variables, and two you can say data have been declared and the values have been stored here. Okay, just a second. Okay, so how do we move the data from this variable 5 to alpha? So directly from memory to memory we cannot move that, so obviously we need to make use of memory to register and then from register to memory instructions. Okay, so how do we do that? So first let us declare few variables in our program which is required. So how do you normally declare a variable in C, for example? Okay, like for example, if I want these variables to be declared, your corresponding statement would look something like this. Like for example, int 5 is equal to 5. I'm declaring and assigning a value for that variable, and one more integer variable where I want the data to be moved, which is alpha. So I'm not initializing that because that is where my value 5 has to be moved. Okay, and similarly in my C program, if I have to declare character, then I will declare it like this. So char z is equal to, so this is a character, so z, and then what is the other one, which is C1, right? So if I have to move the value 5 to alpha in my C program, what I will do, I'll just write alpha is equal to 5. Okay, I can do it directly also, but I'm just trying to give you an idea of what exactly is happening here. So alpha is equal to 5. We'll move the contents of 5 to alpha, correct? And then similarly, if I want the contents of char z to be copied, then all I need to do is write C1 is equal to char z, right? So these instructions in C program are going to move the content from alpha to, sorry, 5 to alpha and char z to C1, correct? But this is not how we write in assembly level language. So there is a different way to write it. So first of all, let us concentrate on declaration of these variables. Okay, so this part here, which we have written later, is used to declare the variables that are required. Okay, so what is the first variable here? First variable is alpha, right? And you are not familiar with this word, I believe, but you may be. I mean, if you have written any assembly level language program, so this is an assembler directive that tells to reserve one word of memory. Okay, so it reserves one word. So how many words are supposed to be reserved? That is specified here. So alpha is reserved with how many words? It has been reserved with one word. Now suppose if I want 10 words to be reserved for alpha, I would have written it as alpha reserve word 10. Okay, so that's the first variable. So what this does is, this will reserve a word in memory and name it as alpha, which is also the same thing that is done by this statement in high level language. Okay, next, what is the other variable? Other variable is 5. Okay, other variable is 5, but here we have to initialize this. So we'll be using any another assembler directive, which is called as word here. So this will reserve and initialize the variable with the value that you provide. Okay, like for example here I am allocating or giving the value 5 for this variable. Okay, or I'm assigning the value 5 for this variable. So what this does is, it will allocate memory of one word and it will initialize its value to 5. Okay, now I believe this part you can understand. So for a character I need 1 byte. So I'm reserving 1 byte of information and initializing its value to z. Okay, so C here indicates that it's a character that I'm actually storing. And another variable, character variable required, where data has to be moved, which is C1. I'm reserving 1 byte of it. So how many bytes are supposed to be reserved? So 1 byte is supposed to be reserved because only 1 byte of data is supposed to be transferred here. So I'm just moving 1 byte. So I've reserved 1 byte for C1. So after this initialization, this is how your memory is going to look like. I hope this is clear. Okay, right, now we are supposed to move the contents from 5 to alpha. Okay, so as I said, direct memory to memory, like as we have done here in C program, is not possible. We are supposed to get the value from the memory to the register A. Okay, and then from the register A we are supposed to move the value to wherever we want it. Okay, now do we know any instruction which does the data in and out movements? Have we come across any instruction that does data movements? Let us check. Let us look into the instruction set. Correct. So in instruction set, we have got the load and store instructions. Correct. So LDA we have, STA we have. So the register in contention here is register A. So which instruction I'm supposed to use? So first I need to get the value 5 from the memory to register A. Okay. So obviously it is loading the instruction. Correct. So load instruction I'm using. So LDA. Which register I'm using? I'm using register A. Okay. So LDA. What value I'm loading into register A? So this 5. Correct. So I will write LDA 5. Okay, which is also what is present here. So now that it is present in accumulator, now from the accumulator I need to store it to wherever alpha is. So which instruction we are supposed to use? We are supposed to use STA. And where it has to be stored? The location where it has to be stored is alpha. Got it? Okay, so with these two instructions, I have moved the content from one memory location to another memory location. So both of them were declared earlier. So here, in this case, they have been declared. And whatever data is there in this memory location has been brought into accumulator and then moved to another memory location, because we don't have any memory to memory operations. Okay, this has to be done like this only. I believe the next part you are able to understand what is there in this program. So what is there here? So instead of LDA, here we are using LDCH. Okay, now remember this is also similar to LDA only, but since we are moving a character, we can use a dedicated instruction called as LDCH. Okay, we can use a dedicated instruction called as LDCH. And what we are trying to move, so obviously whatever is present in this location, which is character Z, so that character Z will be brought into the accumulator. Okay, so character Z will be brought into the accumulator by using this instruction. So once that is done, I have to move it to location C1. So how do I do that? So I am supposed to use STA, but since I'm moving a character, I can use a dedicated instruction called as SDCH, and I can tell where it has to be moved, which is C1 in this case. So LDCH char Z brings the character into accumulator or register A, then SDCH C1 moves the content from accumulator to the memory. Right. So this is how simple data movement is done in SIC standard model. Any doubts here? I think it's a quite straightforward program. If you have any doubts, you can let me know. Okay. So look at the same program, but this time this is written for SIC bar XC. Okay, this is written for SIC bar XC. Can you identify the difference between the previous program and this program? Okay, this is the previous program. And this is the SIC bar XC program. What is the difference that you see? Is there any difference, or there is no difference at all? Is there any difference in terms of the number of instructions? Just look into this. The program is here. All right. So this is the previous program, SIC standard model, and this is the current program, which is for SIC bar XC. Both programs do the same thing. They are moving data from one memory location to not one memory location. They're just data movement programs. But in the previous case, we did it like that. So here, do you see any difference? If you're not seeing any difference, then obviously it's not necessary for me to explain this, I believe. Any difference? Okay, at least an yes or no answer would be good. Is there any difference in this program and in this program? Yes, right. So there is a difference, right? So let us just check what are the differences. So here, if I look into the program, of course, there's a difference in terms of the number of instructions that are present. So here, how many instructions are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 instructions are there. So here, I'm done with only 6 instructions. Okay. And in the previous case, we had initialized and stored the variable value by using word and byte. These two statements are missing here. Correct? There are only reserve word and reserve byte, which means that here in this program, I'm simply allocating the variable. I'm not allocating or initializing the constants which were present in my previous program. Okay, like for example, this is a constant, correct? 5 is a constant, and similarly Z is a constant throughout my program. So for constants, I'm not initializing any memory here. Now why I'm not doing that? That's the reason. Okay, so here there is alpha and here there is C1, which actually these two statements does, so they will initialize. Now the purpose is still the same. We are supposed to move 5 to alpha and we are supposed to move Z to C1. Okay, but instead of doing the what we did in the previous case, here we are utilizing the features of SIC bar XC. Okay, now we know that 5 and Z are constants. So when 5 and Z are constants, instead of using the or storing them in memory, what we can do is we can supply them as immediate operands. Okay, we can supply them as immediate operands, and that is what we are doing over here. So look at the first instruction here. It says LDA 5. Okay, so hashtag here indicates that this is an immediate operand. Got it? So LDA hash 5. Now instead of having a separate variable, I'm to store the constant, I am actually passing the constant directly in the instruction by using the feature of immediate addressing mode. Got it? So load into accumulator the value of 5. So we already know how this instruction is going to be executed. Okay, so once 5 is loaded into the accumulator, then as usual we are supposed to move the value 5 into memory location alpha, So which we are doing by using the instruction sta alpha. Got it? Right? So here we are using the immediate operand in order to execute the instruction. In a similar way, here, so in the previous case we had used LDCH, but we had stored a character constant in memory called as charz. But now I am supposed to use the immediate operand. So the value of z in ASCII is 90. Okay, so we are loading into accumulator the value 90, and then we are storing it into C1 as a character. So which means that z will be stored in C1. Okay, now look at the advantage that we have got with the extra features that are supported by SIC bar XC. So we need not declare any constants. So constant can be directly passed on in our instruction itself. Okay, so like this, if you utilize the features of SIC standard model, then you can write program in a more precise way. Okay, so this is one of the examples. So simple data movement and how it can be done in SIC and SIC bar XC. Okay, now let us look into one more example of how we can perform simple arithmetic operation. Okay, so let us write the program for performing addition of these two functions or these two statements. So the statement is that beta is equal to alpha plus increment minus 1. Okay, so this is the equation. Beta is equal to alpha plus increment minus 1. Okay, this is one of the equation. Similarly, there is one more equation. Delta is equal to gamma plus increment minus 1. Okay, so we have to write a program for performing these operations. So first thing that we'll do is we'll try to declare the variables required for this. So how many variables are required? Beta 1, alpha, increment, okay, delta, gamma, increment is already there, 1. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 variables are required. Out of these, I think 1 is a constant, right? 1 is a constant. So what we'll do is we'll declare 1 as a constant as we did in the previous case. Okay, for 5 we had declared it as 5 word 5, right? In a similar way, we'll declare 1 word 1. So what does this do? This will allocate a word of memory location and store in that a value called as 1. Okay, next we will declare all the other variables. So beta is a variable, so I have to declare the variable here. So beta, how many words? 1 word will be reserved for this variable. Similarly, delta, so next variable, so reserve word, how much? 1 word is reserved for it. Similarly, alpha and increment. Okay, so alpha is again reserve word, how many? 1 word. Increment is again reserve word, sorry, increment is again reserve word 1, right? And of course gamma is the last variable, so we have declared this variable as 1. Okay, so variables have been declared, variables and constants. Okay, so there's only one constant here, which is 1. Okay, now let me concentrate on the first equation here, which is beta is equal to alpha plus increment minus 1. So what we are supposed to do, first we are supposed to bring the value of alpha into the accumulator, then I am supposed to add it with increment, then whatever I get, I'm supposed to subtract that with 1. Okay, so how do we do that? So first let me load the value of alpha into the accumulator. Now remember, accumulator has to be present always to perform any arithmetic operation. So LDA alpha will give me the alpha value, whatever it might be. Okay, whatever it might be, it will be loaded into the accumulator. Right now, what I am supposed to do to this, I am supposed to add whatever value is present in increment. Okay, so I will write add INCR. Now the result will be still available in accumulator only. So to that, I am supposed to subtract 1. Okay, 1 I have already declared it as a constant. So I will subtract 1 to it. Now I have got the result. Okay, like for example, let us assume that alpha is 10, increment is 1. Okay, so what will happen is, with the execution of the first instruction, accumulator will have 10. With the execution of the second instruction, so 10 plus 1, so it will become 11. With the execution of the third instruction, sub 1, so it will become 10 again. Okay, now this 10 has to be stored in beta. Okay, so how do I store from A to the memory location? We already know the instruction, which is STA beta. Got it? So with the 4 instruction, we have completed the calculation of this equation. Beta is equal to alpha plus increment minus 1. Okay, now look into the other part. I think the second equation, how it has been implemented, that you can understand. Is it clear how delta is equal to gamma plus increment minus 1 has been implemented? The same as the earlier. So first gamma has to be loaded into accumulator. To that, increment has to be added. Then 1 has to be subtracted. And whatever the result is, that has to be stored back from the accumulator to the location delta. Okay. So simple arithmetic operation is performed in this program, and this program is again an SIC standard model program. Okay, now look at this program and this one. Do you see any difference? Of course, one of the constant is gone. Which constant was that? That one word 1. So that is gone now. Okay, now why it is gone? Because we know that a constant can be directly supplied in the instruction. I need not declare a variable for it. Right? So now just go through the program and you will see what are the changes that have been implemented. Okay, so the first change that you notice here is that here we are using the S register because this is an extra register present in our SIC bar XC. So there is LDS increment. So what it does, it will store the value of INCR in the register yes. Okay, and I believe this instruction you are familiar with. So alpha value will be loaded into accumulator A. Now the advantage of this is that we know that SIC bar XC supports register to register operation. So I have got 2 operands in registers. So what I can do is, so I can directly use add R. Okay, I'm using add register which are the register values? S is one of the register and A is another register. Okay, so what it does is it will load whatever value has already been loaded, it will add the contents of these registers and the result is going to be stored in A. Okay, so this is a destination for the result. So for example, now as I said, if alpha was 10 and increment was 1, then 10 plus 1. So 11 is now currently stored after the execution of this instruction. Now to that I am supposed to subtract the value of 1, which is a constant. So but now for that case, I will simply use the immediate addressing mode and I will tell subtract 1 from it. So which you have done over here, right? So the result will be still available in alpha. So that has to be moved to beta. So how do I do that? So once again I'll use STA beta. Got it? So you may say that we have got an extra instruction here when compared to the last case, but remember that here the addition that is being performed is a register to register addition, and register to register operation are much more faster when compared with memory to memory operation. Okay, so this is the advantage of this. And one more advantage here is that I have loaded the value of increment in S register, which is also supposed to be used in my second equation, right? So that's why you can see, so loaded the value of gamma, okay, and adding the content of S and A. S already contains increment, so A now contains gamma. Then again I'm using the immediate addressing mode, subtract by 1 and then storing it in delta. Okay, so this is how you can make use of the features that are present in SIC and SIC bar XE in order to execute your programs much more faster, right, when compared with SIC standard model. Okay, so there are similar examples like this. So I will send the example programs and I would like you to analyze these programs before coming to the next session. Okay, so what has been done, obviously the comments are written beside the statements. Try to analyze these programs on your own, because of course we will not be writing any programs, but what exactly these programs does, so that is important to understand. Okay, so this is what we will do in the next session. Just a second, I'll just take the attendance. I'll also share you the attendance sheet for you, so you can enter your details there also. So I hope you can see this. This is your attendance status. Okay, when you have joined, when you have left. All these things are recorded, of course, for me to verify. But I'll share the attendance sheet. Do fill that up. Okay, so if you have any doubts, then as I said before coming to the next session, do look into the program and try to analyze what exactly the programs are, so that we can discuss the other contents later. Okay, so thank you, students.